I don't believe testing will disappear and testers will disappear. For 20 years, every few years, I'm hearing the same that like, oh, there is no future for testing. I believe we have more work than we did in the past.
Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting XP series by TestMu AI. My name is Kavya. I'm the director for product marketing at TestMu AI, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you all with us today. So today's session promises to be a really engaging one, and at the heart of the topic itself is test management and the role of a test manager. This is not something that we have spoken of enough, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward to an engaging conversation today. Let me just introduce you to the guest on the show. Joining us is Marta Firlej, Financial Services Testing Head at Capgemini, who brings passion and over 20 years of quality assurance experience across finance, healthcare, and education tech. Her commitment to quality and knowledge, of course, has shown through her leading role in creating and running multiple community initiatives and the TestFest conference for over 10 years. And very excited to have you here, Marta. Really looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is mine. And thank you very much for this really good introduction. It's not much I can say more other than, when I started over 20 years ago and now I can say over. The world looked a little bit different and something that helped me within my journey of being a test manager several times. And now the head of testing is actually I like and I love working with people. So working with the client, but also with testers and with other roles within the teams. And for those of you that are a little bit longer, you remember times without BAs, you remember times without some other roles, product managers, for example, that they are only a few years and now with us. So the world is changing. But I'm here to show you how I see the future, but also what skills I see that are important for us, all of us, in this journey.
Thank you so much, Marta. So before we start, right, we would love to understand more about your journey in the last 20 plus years. Would you perhaps shed light on that?
Yeah, of course, of course. I started like almost everyone I know here in Poland in like this 20 years ago by pure mistake or other chance that we got. So I had a dear friend that was a project manager at that time. I studied physics and he understood that I'm good with computers. I don't have problem with it. And I have certain skill set, which means nothing is working with me, right? I'm that kind of person that if something is not working, it doesn't work for me. And this is how it started. So I worked for three small software house. I was working testing the booking systems. And this knowledge stayed with me till now. So domain knowledge that you're using during the testing, it's important. It stays with you and helps you. For me, booking flights and hotels within the cheaper prices, I would say. And within this 20 years, I was my heart stayed with the quality. And this is something that is really important for me. But I was not always a tester. I was a project manager, BA. I came to this organization from a role of engineering manager. From the startup. So every several years, I'm changing and shifting a little bit. But what stays is this quality and discussion about the quality, what's the accepted level of the quality we would like to have, how we can handle this. It just sometimes I test, sometimes I work with others, how they deliver, I would say. So this is the biggest in this few minutes, what I can say about my career. And throughout this, I understood that I have certain skill set of looking at the processes, looking at the communication, at what we can work based on risks and based on the limited time we always have as a testers, right? And this is something that for years I was educating myself, but also working with. So this is the path that I took, not the path of being a person that is doing automation. I think it's important to say at the beginning.
Thank you so much, Marta. That's quite a bit of a journey, and I'm pretty sure that throughout these years, right, in different roles and capacities, you would have, of course, come across a lot of insights. So, and as you mentioned, quality is the underlying theme across all those roles. So, very excited to take this conversation ahead. So, to the audience, right, we are going to explore how the role of test manager is changing and what the future holds for this critical function. And I think there could be no better person than Marta herself who could perhaps shed more light on it. So, jumping straight into the first question, right? Priorities can, of course, shift almost every week in a very agile. Development cycle. How do you keep a test strategy tied to the business without having to rewrite it every time something is changing?
So I attended a few years back a really good workshop. It was whole day workshop about test strategy. And something that stayed with me is that the test strategy is not many pages document, as we all learn from years at QB. It's actually, it can be one pager, even not written anywhere, but something that the team knows how they will behave in certain situations and like what they choose and how they will pick things to it. And I say by purpose a team. So from this point, I understood that this is exactly how I work. So the test strategy for me is the approach that we have. Like we agreed in advance, what is the state of the quality we accept and we are aiming for? What information we need to share and with whom? So who are our stakeholders, right? What kind of tests we want to perform if we have time, and how we'll decide what we'll perform in which order. So like if we are making it based on business importance or risks or any other. And if you look at it, it's like just few points, right? It can be one pager. But if it's understood by everyone, there is no problem if there is a shift, if there are crisis management. And I smile because sometimes it's even every day that we are shifting, right? And the priorities, and then we struggle a little bit. But if we agree with the whole team, like with also the stakeholders, what's important for them is like, is it important for them that the main functionalities are working or that many people can use it? And of course, teaching them that there is this pyramid, right? You can't have everything and we can't test everything with a limited time and resources. But if we agree the rules, and this is for me the test strategy, then any change is welcome and it's not a problem at all.
Thank you so much, Manta. That's super insightful. And of course, the way you define test strategy at the end of the day also depends upon how a team's, I would say, strategy and internal frameworks are also defined, I suppose. Have you come across what can you share about how to go about creating that structure for everyone from, say, smaller startups all the way up to enterprise level organizations?
So, as I said at the beginning, the core does not change, right? Like we are here because we are bringing information about the quality as testing, and this is the main goal we have. We are here to show what's the current state of the quality. And what I'm doing is I'm going from this end. So like I'm asking everyone stakeholders, whether it's startup or a huge corporation, like what information you need, dear managers, because it's normally managers, C-level, and so on. Like what information is required so you make better decisions. So I start a little bit from the end, and based on that, like sometimes it's not as much information as we would like to share or we know how to share, right? And I treated that I'm there as an expert, someone that can guide them and advise them, like what kind of tests we should perform, why it's important in their situation for their purpose. Right now, I'm working for very regulated area, right? And it's also important that like we take care of the regulations, that we are sure that we delivered everything in a way that we should, and we have it documented. But for startups, you don't need this documentation, but you want to have the information, what's the current state of the quality, right? So I start from the end and then I go through it asking questions actually about what we really need and every stakeholder what they need. And based on that, with the team, we are coming up like with how we can cooperate together. And when I'm saying team, I mean, if I'm lucky enough to work with, shoulder to shoulder with developers, with designers, with data engineers, with product managers, owners, BAs, whatever the role is called, to come up how we'll approach the future. And this is exactly how I build it.
Thank you so much. Great advice. Really appreciate it. And moving on to the next question, right? You have, of course, worked across multiple industries throughout the last many years. So, does quality actually mean something different in each of those industries? For instance, I'm assuming that I wouldn't say that the underlying theme, of course, would be same across finance, healthcare, education, technology, right? And especially when it comes to finance and healthcare, both are very compliance centric industries to begin with. So, does that actually remain the same across? And how does that change the way you test in those organizations specifically?
So the quality don't change, but the accepted level of quality change. So within the healthcare, banking, insurance, the accepted level of quality is much higher than it is, for example, for startups or web pages or booking systems, right, and so on. The price or the cost actually of the mistake is a lot higher in those industries, and sometimes we have a joke. It's like when you're testing booking systems, the worst possible scenario is that 3 people will book the same place in the plane and 2 won't fly, just in case, or have business class, right? If we make a mistake and we don't know about it within the healthcare, someone can lose their life. So that's the difference. And this is actually the biggest one, right? The second one is the amount of documentation that you have to have, an amount of details that you're going into. So you can experiment a lot more when you're working, for example, for a lot smaller companies, like without this safety critical systems. You can explore a lot more and use more techniques like exploratory testing and so on. When you're working for more regulated, you want to be sure that you test it from every angle. But it's also the purpose of different angles as security, as performance. Those are the things that change. So the core stays the same. You more or less ask the same questions. For example, is it European Union? Then we look at the GDPR, right? Is it like healthy critical? Then we look at the ISOs and so on and so on. If it's bigger company, we look at the performance, but we also look at the performance for the smaller companies. It's just like they want to be prepared for 1,000 users, not 1 million users. So those are the differences that we put. But there is also the amount of tools that you have and people that you have, like within the companies, as you mentioned, healthcare, like banking, testing exists. For some of the industries, tester is an add-on at the end somewhere if someone will have time, right? So throughout my career, I often was the first tester on the board, first ever in a company, and that was the big challenge for me, like to show the value that I bring and value that we bring as a testers. It's not something as a line of code. It's actually the value that we bring, that we know what will break potentially, and it's not breaking. This is the value that we are bringing, and it's a lot harder to prove and show.
Thank you so much, Marta. That's super insightful. And given how with AI adoption, right, with agentic AI and quality assurance in picture, a lot of organizations must also be focusing a lot more on adopting different tools and upskilling their team members so that they could, do keep up with the evolution that has happened in the last couple of years. How is there any advice for team leads, organizations that are looking at um, going about defining their quality strategy in the age of agentic AI?
Thank you very much for this question. And I believe it's really, really important, especially now. And I will start from the question you did not ask.
Yeah.
I don't believe testing will disappear and testers will disappear. For 20 years, every few years, I'm hearing the same, that like, oh, there is no future for testing. And
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Like, I believe we have more work than we did in the past. When I started, I was doing everything. I was doing testing, performance testing, security, accessibility audits. I was doing all, right? Now it's 20 years later. We have those specialized testers because the knowledge deepens and go more into it. So having this AI transformation now, and for whole my career, we are ongoing some transformations. This does not change. We are getting a great tool to support us. So for test managers like myself, I'm so happy with this tool. Like, you don't even know how happy I am because I never had time to actually go and do automation. I know how to write the code. I know how to read it. I never had time because there were tons of other challenges that I had to invest my time. Now I have it, like, slowly, because it's not there yet, slowly I'm getting the tool to support me with some of the activities that can be automated. And I don't need to ask someone to do it. I can do it faster, quicker, like to even brainstorm some of the topics or to identify the gaps in documentation. And if I could advise the people that are like making those change, deciding about this change into AI now. So like, if I were them, I would look at the three things. One, that it's like the one of the biggest challenge for us as a testers, it's communication. And communication is a key, and we struggle with it for years. And it's not getting better; it's actually getting worse because with AI we are like doing stuff faster, which means we don't have even time to recap, we don't have time to brainstorm, and so on. So I would consider thinking how we can focus on communication and having it. And this comes to the second point: requirements. We all know in testing that testing will be as good as the requirements, which often changed and we did not even know about it. And this is the biggest challenge that I believe AI will bring, and it's bringing that we are moving so fast. And so our testing and application itself, the quality will be as good as the requirements, which we all know as testers, majority of cases are not good. So this will be the huge thing. And the third thing that I believe we are not discussing enough is the actual cost. This is the cool that I remember the times when you had to have an invitation to have a Gmail email. And Gmail at the beginning was promising you that you will have unlimited space. For years, I'm already paying for Gmail, right? And all the files I have there. I don't believe anyone is doing anything for free. So I would highly consider what will be the actual costs of not only implementing AI tools, but also maintaining the code, maintaining the projects, like looking in the future of them and having the raised complexity of everything. So I think those three things are important ones, not only to discuss but focus on right now with the AI. But for us as a testers, don't be afraid. I know we are not early adopters, and I know that we are the ones to start using things first. Then we see they are not working the best. We see all the defects. We see all the things that are not working. So we say, yeah, like it's not there yet, but it's changing so fast. So let's keep our eyes open. Let's try to use it time to time. It's far easier right now for people that are doing the test automation or performance testing. It's a little bit harder for other areas of testing, but let's use it as a tool that can support us and help us with the challenge that we always have as a testers. We don't have enough time and we would like to test everything.
Thank you so much. I think that's well put. And this also brings me to the next question that I have actually written for you. But before I ask that question, right, I want to understand from you, how has the role of test manager changed before and after AI period?
From my perspective, it did not change that much.
Okay.
I think it's stronger, and it will be stronger for people that were really good test managers, working with closely with the clients and stakeholders.
Mhm.
It did not change that much, and this is why I'm saying that it's important to take a look on what actually the role of test manager is in details. and don't forget about other things, because if you were a test manager in the past that was working really close with the client, with the business, to understand what they really want, to understand like that when we will test, what are the results we are aiming for, what we are comparing to, what information they, as I said at the beginning, like what information about the quality they need in details. If you were doing it in the past, now you're doing it the same. Like you understand the business needs. If you have it, perfect. Now you know how to test it, right? And now you know how to organize testing and the information you have from it. And only then you apply the tool. So the only change that I see is that we'll deliver faster, which means every company that is like doing this AI transformation wants to deliver faster, even faster than before, which means we will need to speed up the beginnings of the projects. But I'm representing this group of people that I'm very happy with the beginnings of the projects. I'm like very happy to start things. I like challenges. So for those of you that really like it, perfect. We'll do it often. Not like every year. We'll do it every month, sometimes every week. What I'm afraid of is that often as a test managers, we were missing a little bit this endings of the projects. So this test reporting, like closing testing itself, deciding when it's done, and we should say done because in testing we are never done, right? But have this reporting and this close up of testing cycles, and this is what may potentially change. I don't see it yet. That we'll need to fight a little bit more into actually having this phase important, as well as speed up the delivery, not only to say that, yeah, it's ready for production, but also to say, this is the cost of the maintenance. This is what we will need to do later on. And this is
Understood.
something that will be important.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And I mean, the reason why I asked this question was because I wanted to speak about the next part of it, right? Which is, which you're in fact already covered a bit. But which aspects of AI, I mean, which aspects of the test manager's role or function, for instance, would AI be able to assist with better? And what's the part that has to be very, human focused, for instance?
Relationships and communication, this will be state people. And overseas, I believe this is something that will be even more important, as I already mentioned, right? That communication requirements, this is something that it's still not there and we won't be replaced. Like this is something that will be needed and even more. Something that it can help us with, I believe it's reporting. But
Yeah.
of course, we'll need to put a lot of effort to teach it what kind of reporting we want, and to be in a point of the technology that we can trust the results. Right now, we can't. What it will speed up is the automation itself. Like if any one of you were ever literally calculating the cost of like doing automation and maintenance afterwards, it's a huge cost. If you calculated this to hours, to dollars, to frameworks we use, to tools and to environments we need, right? Now this is something that can be speed up. Something that I'm really happy with is that it can really help especially with the companies or places when there's not enough testers on board. I hope it will open door for some of us, but if not, I'm so happy to see product managers that are actually asking and helping, like an AI is helping them to test things, as they sometimes don't have testers, right? I hope it will support developers to tell them like, you should think about something based on the previous data, right? So those are the things that I hope it will help us as well. And like we all know that knowing a little bit more about API testing, about performance, about security, about accessibility, those are huge, huge packet of knowledge, right? It's huge. It's more than one person can take sometimes. So this is the chance that I see that if again, I will be the only person working in projects, I hope I will have a tool that will support me to do even the basic checks. Is it secured? What are the performance results? It will take time and money for sure, but having the opportunity to check it without gaining those years of knowledge, this is something that I see a great opportunity to many of us. But I don't believe that the space for experts will disappear. Don't like go into this direction. I just think that for basic things, it will be very, very helpful to all of us.
Thank you so much, Marta. I think that's really well put. Um, One of the key things that we have seen in the last, there has been like multiple discussions around how testing is often seen as a bottleneck, right? Even now, or say the cost associated with becomes the bottleneck, for instance, at times, right? How do you, especially when you work with different customers and clients, right? How do you get the technology leaders to see the actual value related to it and give testing a major seat at the table itself to begin with?
There is one thing I have to ask you, and
Hmm.
I'm saying everyone that is listening to it,
Yeah.
educate. Please educate people you're working with,
Yeah.
because I'm surprised how often I have to explain to the clients and to the top managers what actually is our role and what value we bring.
Hmm.
So please educate, and this is the beginning of everything like we have to do, and this is exactly how I'm doing it. When I
Hmm.
come to the meeting and I said that the what you can expect from us is to give you information about the current state of the quality.
Hmm.
I pause here, and I see that some people are surprised. And I'm surprised they are surprised, right? Because it's so obvious for us. Then they ask about test automation because they would like to automate everything to have reports and so on. And then I tell them, but test automation only gives you information that something is working now as it was before.
Hmm.
But you don't know if it's working correct or not if you
Yeah.
don't test. And then they surprise even more, right? So those are the things that if I have access to the clients and I believe it brings a lot big huge value if we have this access,
Hmm.
that I believe we have to always step back a little bit
Hmm.
to show what they can expect from us and what value we bring. And this is their decision if they want this information or not. And only after that, like when we agree, okay, what's the expected state of the quality? Like, what is the state of the quality? What information you need? And then they say, like, yeah, because like I would like to know if it's working. It's like, okay, what's working?
Hmm.
Main functionalities like payments, like search, like chat. What's the most important things? And then we discuss, okay, like this is what we can do, and
Hmm.
but like even if you read the report from testing, the important part there is what we did not test,
Hmm.
right? And we often forget to put it there. And this is the information that I share with the clients. Like, ask for the test report. This is important because you will see what was tested and you can expect it will work, but also what was not tested. And
Hmm.
here you have risks.
Yeah.
And often those are important things that we don't test because of lack of time, lack of tools, lack of people,
Hmm.
lack of all the things or the decisions that were made. Or as you said at the beginning of this recording, right? You said
Yeah.
that like sometimes things change and priorities change.
Yeah.
And it's okay, like, but it's the decision that was made that raised some risks. So
Hmm.
the second thing I would like to ask each one of us is to actually raise risks.
Hmm.
Each one of us testers, we are well educated how to manage risks, and
Yeah.
somehow we are not doing it often. And
Yeah.
this is such a simple thing. Just raise a risk that, like, for example, I did not test it. I did not even look at it.
Hmm.
Or I believe we should do like we are in EU, which like, for me, it's obvious, like we are in EU, we did not check accessibility and we have Accessibility Act in place, right? We
Hmm.
did not check performance. It may work. It will
Hmm.
potentially work because now we all use cloud,
Hmm.
but you will pay a lot if you will need to scale, right? So things like that. And those are the things that completely change how I work with the client's representatives.
Hmm.
That I'm open to talk about their needs and I show them the risks. And this is the win for me as a test manager, how to work with them.
Thank you so much, Marta. That's a really great answer. And I also had one more follow-up question to what I just asked, right? If tomorrow you were to have a client who's just starting up, a small organization within the financial services industry, what are the first two or three matrices that you would ask them to track, especially in such a new environment, and give as an advice to the technology leaderships there?
Oh, good question. Let me think. Small, they just starting, so they won't have enough money to, have proper testing. So if I were them, I would really look at what they find, what they're finding on production. So the
Mhm.
feedbacks from the clients. It's often overseas. So I will
Mhm.
look at this and have the proper system of like actually, if anything appear, even a comment, on a online, that is important. So I would say this one. Um, I would track second one, like how successful their releases are.
Mhm.
Because if they are small and now they would do a lot of releases. And the third one, I would actually look at how often they are doing the bug fixes. And even though I'm a test manager, I did not say anything about like bugs, let's see, and like testing, because
Yeah.
those three metrics would show the business the need of testing, in my opinion. Like, of course, if I would have more time to think about it, I would come up with other three. But quickly thinking, small, just going to the market, like looking at companies, how they pop up now. Normally, they don't have a tester or have one person, unfortunately, without huge experience, but they are doing a lot of releases. They work on cloud, and they should build this system of like having the response from the client. I believe this is something that would help to understand the state of quality right now.
Thank you so much. That's a great answer. And another question, the next question that I had was, especially now that there are faster releases happening, right? When priorities move almost weekly, and most teams are ending up with like a strategy on paper and probably a different reality in the sprint itself. How do you keep a test strategy that's genuinely load bearing rather than a document? Um, Especially because you work in such a regulated industry. Do you have any insights on this? So essentially, it's more about, I think, aligning the testing strategy to the business at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I start from the beginning,
Mhm.
so not to have it too big
Yeah.
and too complicated, and not to have tons of pages just to have them.
Mhm.
Because if you have it smaller, then you can make it like a live document. And I smiled here because in some of the projects, people from my team are using AI right now, which
Mhm.
help them to update the strategy. And it's also happening for my partner, and he's a product manager, and he does not have tester on board. And what he's doing is after releases, when they have like, they finding some bugs, like they making some changes, the priorities shifts and so on. So he created an agent for himself to actually change the strategies that he has. And this is one of the examples how we can use AI now to help to work on our advantage, to highlight with us like what should we change based on the priorities change, decision change. But I want to tell you the story from 2010 or 11, and I would need to look at a book that I have here. In 2010 or 11, there was a Visual Studio additional tool that it was called Test Manager. Now it's part of the TFS, right? And it had the brilliant functionality that if you were like you design your test scripts and so on, if you were testing with it, the moment that any line of code changed that your test was like using while testing, it was sharing with you information like what you have to retest again, right? It was 2010 or 11. This tool is live, still is live, right? We have tons of other new tools that can support with this. So I would use technology in my advantage, and this is how I'm doing to actually highlight with for me like, oh, we changed this within the priorities, what effect it will have for the strategy, but not only for testing as well.
Thank you, Marta. And this also brings me to one of the questions that a lot of our audience is definitely keen to know about, and I'm sure that you must have heard about this within your team as well. What are some of the key skills that you're now hiring for or reskilling your team for, that probably would not have been, in the job description a couple of years back?
Something that was, and I think it raised, it's the communication skills.
Mhm.
Uh, the soft skills, communication skills, presentation skills. This is something that it's so much more important now than it was before. In the past, when we had really, really good experts, but they had some communication challenges, we were still accepting because like we knew the rest of the team could handle this. Now we are in an environment where often we don't work in teams anymore. We are individuals working with the team, like with a development team, but not testing team. So there won't be someone with the better communication skills than we are. So if I would need to tell one, I would say communication skills is the top. And communication skills means a lot more than just how we talk and do we listen and so on. It's also assertiveness. It's also presentation skills. It's also negotiations, because this is something we have to do with the clients, right? So this is this huge bag of communication, and if there is one thing to invest now, it's this one. If I would say about the second thing, that like when we discuss with my team, when we are hiring someone or when we are like, looking at someone's future, the second skill is actually the acceptance to change, like how you approach it. Uh, and still soft skill, right? Um, it's hard that it changed into this direction, and this is something that make me think about all the people that are not comfortable
Mhm.
with this communication, with being the only one in the project, and so on and so on. And I don't feel comfortable that we don't discuss more about people that struggle with those skill sets, right? Because the world is changing in a way that like either you have good communication skills or you will have a challenge in the workplace. And this is something that I struggle with. This is something we discuss internally and externally with my friends and people working in IT and with my boss as well. How we can address this, and what world we can create for others for the future. But like, if you're a good candidate and like how you approach the future, and I do the same for myself, right? I still have several years to my retirement, so like I need to think about myself as well. So I would say first, like reinvest in your communication skills. All of us, we have to work on it constantly, so it's just different areas sometimes that we have to work on. And second, like, educate yourself how you can welcome change,
Mhm.
how you move from I don't want change to this change is happening, how I can handle it, so I'm not stressed, but I'm also curious of what it can bring and how it can help me.
Thank you so much, Marta. I think that has been a great insight. And this brings me to one of the last input that I would ask from you, right? To the listeners, if you want to share any parting remarks, right? What would it be, and how essentially, what are the some of the key things that you'd want them to focus on in the next couple of months, to begin with?
I will tell you the same what I'm thinking for myself, right? Use an hour every week to take a look what's on the market. What are the testing tools and development tools, frameworks? What are the trends? What is happening on the IT market itself? Even if you don't have an hour, spend 5 minutes. There are articles on LinkedIn, there are videos on YouTube, and there are your friends that are actually checking the tools. So talk with your friends. Go on a seminar at your work or any other group. Use this like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour a week to understand what is happening. This is something that will help you the most, because you like it's not only us, it's also the owners of the companies, the business owners and so on. They're also looking at what's the change and how they will bring, and it's influencing their business as well. So this is the one thing. And second, as I already mentioned, communication skills. Yes, this is a hint. You don't see my background, but here I have a whole shelf of the things like about it. But also think of your value. And when I'm saying communication, it's like how, like when the last time you did the list of what you value you bring to your project? When the last time you raised the risks? And the last but not least, when the last time you prepared a test report after you finished testing something?
Thank you so much, Marta. Those are some really great insights. And, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to the conversations and the insights that you had to share. This also brings us to the end of the session. So, once again, really appreciate you for coming over here and sharing your perspective on test strategy, engineering leadership, and the human side of quality, and of course, the role of how test manager is evolving as we speak. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow TestMu AI on social media, as well as you could get in touch with Marta Firlej in case you have any more questions or insights that you need on through her LinkedIn. So thanks once again, everyone, and thank you so much, Marta. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much and see you soon.